Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking Justice League. Before I do, let's get into Psalms 62. And 11 and 12 says, God has spoken once, twice I've heard this, that power belongs to God. Also unto you, O God, belongs mercy, for you render to every man according to his deeds. I find that fair. And to know that God is fair, goodness is fair. The goodness is rendered unto your deeds. As you sow, you shall reap. Cause and effect, yin and yang, etc. So, I, again, if I can, exhort you to move in the way of justice, of just is. All right? We're talking Justice League. Today we're talking Aquaman. Depending on what group you're in or where you are, if you've been watching my videos, I've done a recent video on Facebook which had to do with Aquaman. And we're going to go a little bit more into detail about Zack Snyder's Aquaman. Now, first and foremost, when we look at Aquaman right here, and I may just zoom this in a little bit more. If we look at Aquaman right here and we look at his eyes look like cat eyes. They look like a sea creature's eyes. His eyes look like he lives in a place where there's not a whole lot of light. Okay? His eyes look like a tiger, like a cat's eyes. The pupil's very small. Alright? And that's very important to see. And the rest of his eyes are green. See, I'm zooming all the way up into there. All the way up into there. That's what Zack Snyder did with Aquaman. Alright? Now we can tell that this shot of Aquaman that we're looking at, it had to be done indoors in the studio. Why? Because in a studio you must have lighting. Lighting is a very important component of studio work. Remember those two things. Aquaman got these green cat-like looking eyes. And if you're in a studio, you got a certain kind of lighting. Because I'm going to come back to that, okay? So here we're looking at Aquaman, and how does his eyes look? Cat-like. We can't see it perfectly, but we can see his pupils right there, pupil right there. Again, it looks like if his eyes are like a cat's or like a fish eye, you know. Here you can't see it too well, but again, not defining like Bruce Wayne's eye. See, you can see the brown pupils of Bruce Wayne's eye, you know, and the brown iris. Not here with Aquaman. All right, very important. Here's Aquaman again. Can't really see. It's kind of cat eye. You see the little dot there. You can't even see it on this one. All right, the resolution is not that great. And that's another very important point. Here we have, again, this is Zack Snyder directing the scene. That's why I tell you, I know this is Zack Snyder directed. Because if you look at the outfit here, and you look at the outfit here, and you look at the outfit here, they're all the same. The only difference is this one has more saturation of color. It's the absolute identical outfit. And that's an absolutely identical conversation he's having with Ben Affleck, okay? Very important for you to understand. Alright, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy are the identical people. Alright? Now, I can't really show you here Jason Momoa's eyes that he's using contacts to get that green eye effect. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I don't think you can get it. The resolution's not that great. So you can't see it there, okay? Now, anyways, it's very important for you to realize that. Here you can't see his eyes, all right? But you can tell it's outdoors. Why? You don't see any lighting on him. They don't need to use lighting because he's in natural lighting, all right? When you're in natural lighting, they don't need to shine a light on you. It's only when you're in studio. So you'll notice here, there's no sheen on him here or here. But there's a sheen on him here because they have indoor. This is an indoor scene, and even though there's light outside, so they actually shine light on you. Okay, it's very important to see. There it is again, and there it is again. Studio work. Okay, they're shining. They actually have a screen that shines the light on, and then the light shines back on the people. All right. Now bear all those things in mind. Look at his eyes again, cat-like. Okay, can't see it there, but let me see. Eyes too far away. And you can't even see his pupils there, right? Here's another scene, and again, cat-like looking eyes. You can't see it. You can tell it's an indoor scene because you can see the lighting there and the sheen on him. Now, what am I trying to point out? When Whedon came on the scene and started directing anything that has to do with Aquaman, his eyes changed. I'll show you what I mean. All right, here, this is definitely not an outdoor scene. How do we know this? The lighting that you can see on his forehead right here. This is an indoor scene. No matter what people say. The resolution is also really good. It's ridiculous for close-up. Look how clear it looks compared to this. This is not as clear. You can see the little pupils in his eyes a little bit. Green eyes here. You can tell this is an outdoor scene. This one definitely is indoor. Notice the difference in his eye. While his pupils there, you can see also the outside of his pupils, the iris of his pupils, right? You can see that there. And you clearly can see it here as well. It's very defining. And it's not green. Look at this one. See, it looks more green. Remember, this is in the same movie. The resolution here is also fantastically better. It's superior to the resolution here. Look at that resolution. All right. Look at the resolution here. It's much better. The other thing I noticed is when you look at the background compared to the resolution of this guy's face, this is a very close-up. I don't know why they did it so close, but they did it super close here. And they did it here. And they did it here. For some reason, the movement of Jason Momoa, if I had a video clip I'll show you, he moved rather quickly, to get into position to turn here than you should in water. That's the first thing I noticed. And this is him in the actual environment. Now, they did CG in the snow. They did CG, but you can tell, again, perspective, you can tell the distance here. For some reason, it feels like he's standing in front of a green screen. For some reason, he's in a pool, but he's standing in front of a green screen. For some reason, that's just the way the mind interprets it. You don't feel that depth perception. I don't know why, but that's just the way how it feels. It's a very close-up shot, so that may be one of the reasons. But I suspect very strongly this is not an outdoor scene, because if he was outdoors, his head would look like this. Natural lighting. Right? He wouldn't have that sheen right here. He wouldn't have that sheen right there. And he wouldn't, God knows he wouldn't have that sheen right there. There's just no way. You can see it's reflecting a light. So they shine a light on him, which tells me this is an indoor scene. And then his eyes, look at Aquaman's eyes, man. Here is a picture of Aquaman's eyes. It ain't that, man. I mean, this is a different color tone and everything, but still, that ain't his eyes we see in there. That's not his eyes. That's not Aquaman's eyes, man. Right? Let's have a look at Aquaman's eyes consistent to the same movie. This is all of this stuff. These clips come from the same movie. There's his eyes in the movie. Look at that. It's not consistent. Now we can see that both are close-ups, and yet I could see his eyes with this one, and this looks more like he's an animal. On top of that, the resolution of this one is just superior to the resolution of this one. And so all of these things, obviously there's no sheen on him here. This is natural lighting that's coming from him here. And you can tell somebody's shining a camera on him, shining a light on him, right? So these are the ways how you can tell when a reshoot happens. A lot of times people talk about the hair and all that bullshit about wigs and stuff. I don't need that. I can tell when it's natural lighting and when it's not natural lighting, right? I can tell when somebody's outdoors and they're shooting natural lighting. You can see this is outdoors here. He's shooting natural lighting because it's uniform. All right? Here you can see a little bit of light here coming off the side of him here. But this is still natural lighting. If I show you the movie, you would see what I'm talking about. This clearly is not natural lighting. Obviously, they're using indoor lighting. That's why it's reflecting off of his forehead. And you can even see the beads of sweat on his forehead. But notice his eyes again. His eyes are not this. His eyes are not this. Look how green that eye is. Look at this. And remember, this is in the same movie. Okay? So these are things you pick up on. Of course, the resolution. This is a close-up, and still the resolution is nothing like this. This is a superior resolution to this, which tells me that 65 millimeter was used on this, which means this is a reshoot, whereas 35 millimeter was used on this. And as much as you get a lot of details, and you can see the details in his face and everything, it's not the same as this. And the reason why they go with 35 millimeter is to give you a grandiose, a much more grander look. This feels very ordinary, right? The same actor, but it feels a lot more ordinary. And also the camera angles are not really great here. They're, I guess, for comedic moments maybe. Look at that. That's grand. That's Zack Snyder for you. Grand. Grand. You know, he feels like a lion. Grand. When you see him, he looks regal. Grand. Okay? Even this still photo shot here of Aquaman looks grand. And that's when you know you're dealing with Zack Snyder. Okay? So all of these little key things tell me that these close-up scenes right here, this and this and this, were all Joss Whedon done. See? I break it down for you guys. I'm not like them other jokers out there. I'll break it down, right? So when you guys hear me say, oh, that's definitely Whedon scene, I know what I'm saying. When I say, that's not Whedon, that's Snyder, I know what I'm saying. All right? And I give you my reasons. All right? You can count on this channel to tell you the truth. You want lies and gossip and stuff, go to another channel. All right? You guys have a great one. And remember, Psalms 60, verse 11 and 12. Sorry. Psalms 62, verse 11 and 12 says, God has spoken once, twice I've heard this, that power belongs to our God. Therefore, since the Lord belongs to and believes in mercy, he renders every man according to his work. He's fair. He's not just powerful, and he doesn't believe in justice. You know, Superman said, I believe in truth, which is power, but I'm also a big fan of justice. Joss Whedon, of course, was responsible for that line. Nonetheless, I'm sure there was a line around similar lines by Chris Terrio. You guys have a great one.